All right, October 4th, 2018, live day trading. Scan, survey, submit. Every morning I have to recall what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, which is scanning, surveying, and submitting trades. I always got to focus on this stuff. Sometimes you get in, it's like a big game, a football game, baseball game. You got to get in the mindset of what it is you're doing. So that's why I remind myself every morning what it is I'm doing. My goal is, my process is to scan the stock market for any stocks that meet my initial criteria. Then I'm going to survey those stocks. I'm going to look at the charts, use technical analysis to determine buy points, sell points, look for VWAP, look for support and resistance, look for anything I see that I could make a taggable trade. Then I have to submit that trade. You know what I mean? Because this is all about collecting data. Every trade I make right now, this is, it's all about collecting the data to see what the viable trading strategies are. Spent so much money on trading education, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they show, trade setups, ideas, concepts, but there's no probabilistic kind of, they don't tell you what the probabilities of these. Oh, this is a bull flag. Oh, this is a VWAP. This is this. And okay, well, what's the probability of that trade working out? What's the point if you don't know the probabilities? I can trade bull flags. I can trade VWAP. I can trade all these things. But if I don't know the probabilities, if I don't know where I should take my profits, if I don't know where I should put my stop losses, all that stuff, that's really what's the most important thing with trading. Not understanding just one simple setup, but understanding all the other things about that setup, where to get in, where to get out. So that's why I'm going through this exercise every morning, scanning the market, only going to trade stocks that end up on my scanner. I'm looking for two things: volume and volatility. That's what I need. Right now I have 4 stocks. Okay, so FEY, MNK, CLDR, HTP. These are the 4 stocks on my scanner right now. They're all either gapping up or gapping down, and they're gapping with volume. And that's what I'm looking for. So let's keep scanning through here. First 5 minutes, I don't really do anything other than scan. I'm just looking. I don't want to get in the first 5 minutes. That's one of the processes I've set up. The thing with documenting data is you have to do it consistently. I've logged trades and journaled my trades, and I realized I wasn't having consistent results because I wasn't entering trades consistently. I wasn't setting stop losses consistently. I wasn't doing anything consistently. So now I'm really trying to laser in so I can make consistent trades. And that way I can document, hey, maybe I should move my stop a little, maybe my entry's a little off. And you're supposed to be making, well, at least what I think is small, minute adjustments. Let me go ahead and save some of this. And I really believe that's the way to build a trading strategy, is let's say you want to do a VWAP setup. So you're going to look at the VWAP and you're going, okay, I'm going to get in exactly at this point every time. If it's whether it touches VWAP, whatever the initial criteria is, then I'm going to exactly set my stop here and exactly set my profit loss here. You do a ton of those trades, 100 of those trades, and you can start seeing, okay, well, maybe if I got in a little bit earlier or a little bit later, set my stop loss here, set my profit target there, and you can just start analyzing things and make small changes and start improving. But too often we just do these really broad changes, and we're changing everything. We're just, at least me, I was just trading all over the place. So right now it's really about being laser focused, focusing on technical analysis, focusing on what I know so far, and building on that. Okay, so I have 7 stocks. MNK is dropping. Okay, it's almost 935. This is interesting. Let's see what we have here. Okay, There we go. 9:35. I have 7 stocks on my scanner. So this is all I'm going to trade. This is it. 7 stocks. Looking for live trading entries, using technical analysis to determine buy and sell points. This is pretty interesting. MU. It's over 1 million shares right there. That's a lot of shares. Okay, so I've determined, so this is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and sell. 44.75. If it comes back up, which I don't know if it will. And let's see, I want to take a 15 cents. Did that go through? Okay. So this is not live trading. I mean, it's live trading. It's not real money it's trading, because right now I'm analyzing data. I don't want to be distracted by how much money a trade is or isn't making. All I want to do is collect the data. That's the goal. Not to win. It's to collect data. That's the process right now. That's my job right now, collecting data. So why did I set this here? Huge volume on this stock right here, over 1 million shares, and it wasn't able to push up higher. But then if you look at the previous day, look at this. Came here, very strong support. And then it today gapped under that support. So since it gapped under the support, I'm thinking that a lot of people are trapped. A lot of people are scared, and they're going to be selling. So if it comes back up to that point, maybe people are going to be trying to break even, getting out of their shares. So I think that would be a good place to sell. I don't even know if it'll come back up to that point, but that's where I'm going to be setting that stop for, or that order entry. Okay. Just taking some notes here. Okay, let's see what else we have. Set it and forget it. That's what I like to do. I don't like to dwell on trades. I like to get in, set the trade, move on. This is the previous day's high right here, 1723. But I don't trust that right now. Let's see what else is going on. So this is very, very similar. GLW, previous day was right here, right? But it's already broken through it. So I don't know. Why I don't think I would like to short this stock is because this huge volume, this green candle right here. So even though it's running into previous support, it doesn't look like a good short to me, just because there was so much buying pressure right here. I mean, you come over here, 300,000 shares. You can see the volume on this candle is way, way bigger. So that's a lot of buying. I mean, it still may go short, but I think I'd like to see some volume tail here, something happened where it looks like it can't push up higher. M&K is really, really tanking. M&K just, okay, so let's look at this right here. This was a strong support level right here, 2850. And this is where we're at. So it opened up here and it's already broken through that support. Wow. Okay. Don't know what I would do. VWAP trade, I'm not seeing much of a setup right there. MU is just continuing to tank. So doesn't even look like it's going to come up. I may have already missed the trade. Again, yesterday's resistance was at 1724. Gapped up over the resistance, came in really close to it. It looks like it might be having a reaction off of that. So again, we come over here, previous day's high, acting as support for today. You can see this tail right here, just strong rejection. I don't think I'd buy it though because of this strong push down. I don't like that. I don't want to buy that. It had a strong push down. So I don't know. I don't want to think about it too hard. If I have to think about it too hard, probably not a good way to trade. All right, just continuing to kind of see, checking the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the daily. So a little bit of strength. So now what I'm liking, what's the high of this candle? 44.59. Let's see. So we had more of a volume. Okay, so lighter volume, 300, a little bit more of a volume, and that's where it kind of hesitated, like it wanted to go up, but then it shot down. So I'm thinking a stop above this 63, maybe a stop of 64. So if I want to take 15 cents, I could, okay, so I'm going to move this order because now I think this is going to be a new area of resistance. There was kind of a lot of volume in here, and what I like is price made a strong break from this area. So if it makes a weak run up, my thought is that it's going to come back down. So I'm going to go ahead and move this. I want to keep about a 15-cent stop. Okay. Yeah, so we're at about 80 cents to today's range, 80 cents. So 8 cents would be 10%. So I'm doing about a 20%. 20% of today's range is what the stop is. I don't like to do anything more than 25% of today's range as my stop. 15, if it comes in 44.50, it's at a 50, which is typically a decent level. Using this area right here, there's more volume down here. Kind of had a fight, and then it pushed down strong. So if it comes up in light volume and hits around the 44.50, I set my stop is going to be 15 cents above that, which is going to be right here, 65. I think that's going to be a good sell if it actually works out. Just taking some notes here. This is the nice thing about paper trading right now, is just I want to focus on getting the data. I was live trading, but then I get into a live trade and I'd focus so much on what I was actually doing on the trade that I'd miss other things. And I was still doing that when I was paper trading. I was still like I'm really forcing myself to just set trades and forget them and just scan like a sniper, just looking constantly through stocks, looking for any kind of setup that I can repeat. You know, I want to set up where, you know, if I want to call this Rich's, you know, resistance trade or whatever, because there's kind of a I want to do 100 of these trades, and every time you look at a chart, it looks exactly, or, you know, really close to exactly the same. It's like, oh yeah, that's that trade setup. I see it over and over and over again. I was looking at my charts, and I was like, God, all the trade setups look different. Like, I felt like I was winging it everywhere I went. See where else. Whoa, let's see what we got here. Strong press down. It's coming up right here, big, almost 1 million shares, and it wasn't able. Whoa, I'm liking this right here. 67 to 83. So all I can take is a max of about a 14 cent. 14 cent, because that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be about 25%. I don't like anything more than 25%. So if I want to short this, which I do, I don't picture it running. Let's look at the daily. So let's look at the daily. Let's look at the support and the resistance. Look at this right here. You have a lot of resistance coming through here. It's already kind of rejected off. So I can only take a 14-cent total stop. I'd love to get in here, but my stop would have to be too big. If my stop's too big, then that means it's going to be hard for me to get that at least 2 to 1, which is my bare minimum requirement. So I'm going to go ahead and sell Fay. If it gets up to here, let's see, 84. So I have to pretty much get in at 73, would be 87. Yeah, so I'm going to make that 15 cents. Again, this, oops, no, it's supposed to be 15. There we go. Again, it says shares, but really when I run it through my algos, when I print this stuff out, enter it into Excel, it knows that where it says 15 for shares, that's really 15 as my stop. So I'm kind of rigging it to make it work for the way I'm running my own programs here. All right, so I have 2 orders set. We'll see what happens. It did have a little bit, so this was strong volume right here. See that strong volume? Comes back up and it's not really able to break this volume. So that actually might be a good selling point too. I didn't really see that earlier, but I'd rather it go to maybe the high 73. I would need 30 cents, so that'd be 43. I mean, right there. So if I sell here, I think it could easily go to here, and that's a 2 to 1. That'll work. What else do we have? Let's go ahead and keep scanning. Don't get stuck on one thing. 7 stocks. So I'm looking for any kind of other pattern. It's really important just to kind of be patient. I'm not seeing a lot. I mean, I'm only looking at 7 stocks. There's always the temptation to go and look at other stocks that aren't on my scanner. Hold on a second, let's see. But I'm doing this with the attempts of understanding the probabilities. You know, so if I have an initial criteria for scanning stocks, for basically filtering out, then I can figure out the probabilities for those filtered stocks. You know, people, and I had a hard time with this, you know, you want to look for a particular, let's use something really easy like a bull flag. They want to know, well, how often does a bull flag work out with a 2 to 1? Let's say I risk this and I make twice what I risked. How often? What's the probability that that's going to work out in my favor? And it's hard to tell because people trade all sorts of different type of stocks with that, and different stocks, different conditions are going to produce different results. So my goal is basically trade the same kind of stocks, the same kind of conditions every day. And that way the probabilities I work will be hopefully a little more consistent. So every day I am trading stocks that have volume and volatility. They're gapping and they're coming in strong. The first 5 minutes with strong volume. And every day I have anywhere from 2 to 20 stocks that will meet my particular scanning criterias. And then when I run them through my algorithms, I'll be able to know, hey, the bull flag setup, I'm just using bull flag as an example, the bull flag setup will, 2 to 1 And I have to be able to set exact entry points, exact stop loss, exact profit loss or profit gain exits, and I can look and go, okay, this last 100 times this happened, there's a 60% chance of me getting a 2-to-1, or there's a 50% chance, or whatever. You know, people, when you have that understanding of probability, then you can place those trades a lot easier. Hold on a second, let's see. You know, sometimes you hear traders deal with fear. They don't want to get into a trade. They're afraid of getting into a trade. They're hesitant. And usually they're hesitant because they don't know the probabilities. I mean, you don't know. And you should be afraid to put that trade on because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't have any kind of statistical edge. You don't know what the probabilities are. You're afraid to put the trade on. Well, there you go. There you go. You know, you're just working on a hunch. Maybe it'll work out. Maybe it won't. You don't have any data to kind of support, you know, well, I took this class and this guy said do this, and so I saw that setup, but I was afraid. Well, you're afraid because you haven't proven it for yourself. So that's why I'm doing everything I'm doing, is so I can prove these strategies to myself. I'm not trying to prove them to anyone else. This is just me. I'm gonna look at a trade and say, hey dude, I've done this. I've seen this work out 500 times. I know there's a 50% chance of it working. Or even, hey, I know there's only a 30% chance of this trade working out, but if it does work out, I get a 5-to-1 risk reward to risk rate ratio. A lot of people fear because they don't know. They fear the unknown. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And so it causes issues. Okay, let's see. Ooh, MU is coming up. MU is coming up. Is it going to hit? All right. So one way of dealing with fear is just experience. Fear of trading, fear of placing those trades. If you're afraid, you know, it's because you lack the experience. When I first started learning how to drive, my parents had a stick shift, and every time I got to a hill, you know, a stop sign that was on a hill, I was terrified because I'd let off the brake, work the clutch, the car would roll back. I was always afraid I was going to hit the car behind me. You know, I didn't have the experience, didn't know what the hell I was doing, but now, you know, it doesn't bother me. I can do that all day long. I don't care. It's the same thing with trading. People fear, well, you should be afraid to lose money. Like, people are too willing to lose money these days. It's like really weird to me. People tell me, oh, you got to trade live. You know what? I did trade live, and guess what? I lost money. So I didn't lose very much. I refuse to be one of those guys who just loses a ton of money just because. Like, it just seems ridiculous to do that to me. Like, why would you do that? Let me see here. So yeah, if you want to alleviate fear, it's real simple. Just know what you're doing. You know, you look at a trade, you've analyzed that trade, you've gathered the data on that trade, you know the stats on that trade, you know the probabilities of that trade, you've seen it 1,000 times. Guess what? You're not going to be afraid to place that trade. It's just the way it is. You may feel a little anxious, you may feel like nerves, like you hope it works out, but I don't think you're going to really have the fear. Let's see if this is going to tag me in. Not seeing a whole lot. This I don't like. It's just been going sideways. This, if it comes up and tags me in, great. If not, oh well. This again, if it tags me in, cool. HTP is just sideways. Nobody wants to trade that. This, I don't even really know. I don't know what's going on there. It's kind of in this weird area. I don't see anything really strong one way or the other. This looks like it could eventually collapse. 300,000 shares is kind of going. What I don't like is really light volume. MU, You know, you got 7 million shares that have already traded. FEY, where are we at? Yeah, 3 million. Having volume is so important. That's why, that's why there's only, there's thousands of stocks every day that trade, right? And I'm only looking at 7 of them. Why? Because these are the 7 with volume. These are the 7 that have already made a move. They've got the volatility. They gapped up, they gapped down, and they have a lot of volume. And it's volume relative to what it normally trades, and that's the important thing. So like, relative volume is huge. Apple has a lot of volume, but is it relative? Like, so for, let me just show you let me bring this over so you can kind of get a see. So CLDR is my volume buzz, 500% more volume than what. So all these, well, except for this one, the GLW, these are all well over 100% more volume than what they typically are trading. So the volume is 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much right now. That to me is the most important thing. There's a ton of volume. Now the second thing is volatility. But let's continue to look at the volume here. Yes, but it's not moving. The low float guys are always talking about, stocks can't make big moves, whatever, like, but if you can take some volume, I mean, look at that, 290,000 shares in that one little, it's only 8 cents range. There's 8 cents in 290,000 shares. That's why I focus on these stocks. Oh, look at that, man. It might not have come in. Didn't hit my entry, but it's all right. Maybe it'll come back. Yeah, if there's volume, you can get in with size. I mean, that's what I'm building the strategy for. I see these guys want to make, $100 a day, $1,000 a day. Well, that's cool, whatever. I've already had a job where I was making $1,000 a day. Not every month, but I've definitely been to that point. And just, I don't know, it doesn't. It's cool, but I want more. Sorry to say, I want more. Actually, I'm not sorry to say it. Why am I learning how to trade stocks? Why am I learning one of the most difficult industries there is so I can just make a couple $100 a day? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm looking for stocks with volume. Stocks that when I eventually figure out the edge, when I understand the probabilities, I can take big size and make big money. I'm not going to waste my time with a little shit. I want to do this for real. So volume is important. Got to get a stocks that are hitting high relative volume. High relative volume. That means other people are interested. There's something going on. I don't mess with news too much because I don't understand the news. I tried trading news, like the news looks positive and the stock goes down, then the news looks negative, stock goes up. I mean, I don't know. I can't figure it out. So I've just figured, hey, if it's got high relative volume, that's all I need. Something that's really moving. A lot of people are in it. Then that's what I want to look at. That's where I want to be too, because there's something going on. But the second thing is volatility. It's got to be making some kind of movement. Something like this, it's high volume, but look, there's no volatility. It's just like kind of stuck there. So let's see here. Volume is the first ingredient, but volatility is definitely the second. Just because something has a high volume, you got to see if it's actually moving. Is that volume doing something? Because if it's not moving, what's the point? Look at that, just barely. Ooh. Let me see here. So, engulfing. Look at that engulfing right there. That's usually very strong bearish. I mean, it tried to make a higher high and it just rejected. Almost tagged me in. So the high was 69. My limit order is set at 73. I mean, if that would have tagged me in, I would have almost had that 2-to-1 right there. We'll see what happens. Yeah, those engulfing patterns, I like those. It's very strong. The reason I'm not totally, like, if this stock had gapped down, right? If this stock gapped down, the VWAP was up here, all the moving averages, everything was up here, and it made this downward engulfing, that would be much more enticing. This right here isn't enticing, and that's why you have to look at the big picture. It was very hard when I first started because I would just, engulfing, and I would sell, right? But I was not seeing the whole picture, and that's really important that you see the whole picture. I'm taking some notes here. Cool engulfing pattern. If there were other confluence of events, there were other kind of criteria met, I would probably look to short this. But since it's gapped up, I don't want to short this. It may end up collapsing anyway, but again, I don't care about what's possible. I want to know what's probable. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, I've learned, I'm still working on the probabilities, but when a stock gap's down, but the first red candle is very strong. I mean, this closed up towards the top of the percent. I don't really want to short that. Even though if you look over here, look at that. That's where the ends, and then look where price is at right here. So what would I like to see? What would be if I saw a huge volume push and then rejection, right? So if this base is right here, this creates another couple points right here. So it creates like a little bit of a base, and then I see it break through on huge volume and then shoot right back down. That right there would be a criteria for me to go short. But see, there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of things that have to take place for me to really want to go short. Initially, what I used to do before, I'd be like, let's just go short, right? Because I see it coming in, let's just do it. It may go down. That's great, but it may not. I want it to move, but I want it to move powerfully. So I think if it kind of creates another little red, another little candle right here, creates like this little top, and then on the next candle really shoots up, a ton of volume comes in, and then it gets rejected really hard. I think that, I think its stock's going to tank, because what does that show me? That shows me that all the buyers, they all showed their hand. All the buyers got in, and then there was nothing left, and it just came right back down. Let's see here. All right, so I'm still liking this, and the reason now it's kind of hitting that 90 EMA, I've talked about this a lot. Still working on the probabilities for that. And this is right at the open too. It opened at 44.50. What else do we have? Just finally breaking out of its range a little bit. So it's coming up. See? Man, so many times before, I would have just shorted right here. So many times in the past, I would have shorted right here. And then I would have been stopped out. But I had to do that, 100 times before I started to understand, like, maybe that's not a good place to short. All right, let's see what we're at. So, okay, 9 EMA. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Interesting things to note right here. I don't think any one technical indicator means much on its own. The thing I find interesting right here is price did come to this level before and it rejected. Now we're at the 9 EMA. We're at the low of the day where it previously rejected. Could this be a buying area? So one of the things I'm noticing, the volume is a little bit higher, right? So this, you had volume of, where's the volume? Almost 700,000 shares. This is over 700,000 shares. So what we're going to see, I would like to see it, excuse me, I'd like to see a ton of volume come in, push down, and then the volume buy it back up. If I see that push down and buy it back up, I think that's going to be an interesting place to possibly go long. But I don't want to rush it. I don't want to get in. It hasn't really shown me anything. Look at this candle though right here. So this previous candle, 142,000, 250,000 shares, is not really able to make much headroom. So volume's coming in, but it's not really able to push lower. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to come back to that stock. Never came up to my, oh man, I barely missed that. So the high was 69, my entry was 73, 4 cents off. If it would have hit it, I would have gotten my 2-to-1 easy. I'm still gonna leave it there though. 73. Yeah. Let's see what happens. This is another one. Hitting that 9 EMA. Low of the day. This kind of broke through. The volume wasn't that great. Let's go back to CLDR. See, the volume was picked up. Oh, this might make an engulfing. That looks interesting, actually. The thing I don't like about it is I see resistance right here. I see resistance right in this area. So if I were to buy, I could see price coming up only to here. If price just kind of drifted down, then I'd be more inclined to buy. But what I'm thinking may happen, price comes back up into this area and then really doesn't do too much from there. That volume is coming in though. We're starting to get some volume. No, wait, see what happens. Not really convinced of anything yet. This is when I was talking about earlier. Volume's really light up here though. So I didn't see that strong rejection, but I also am not seeing any follow through. So I'm not seeing many buyers, but I'm not seeing many sellers. I think a lot of people are just kind of wondering, like, what the hell's going on? What do I do from here? Kind of stuck. Whoa, look at this. Look at this volume right here. Oh, I actually like that. Comes down, it's stuck in the volume. What's the range on that candle? It's 20-cent range, 34. If I get in at 20, I need 40, go to 60. I can get 2 to 1 right there. I'm going to do that actually. So let me go 20. All right. 20-cent stop. Let me just put everything in real quick. I got in at 19. Maybe 59. Cool. And my stop is going to be just under there, 99. So I'm making 98. Ooh, may break the other way. But why did I get in? It's very extended from the VWAP. It's extended from everything. Had a lot of volume and it wasn't able to push further down. So this is the kind of trade I can take over and over and over again. I mean, that's just, you know, you see that kind of indecision. And I think a 2 to 1, having it come up to this area is very likely. Of course, it may just take me out real quick. But it doesn't. That's exactly why I do these trades, right? Because you do this 100 times, see how often it works. If this trade, it seems like a good setup, but if it's not, then I know not to trade it. We're going to see what happens. Gonna see what happens. Nope, okay, tagged out. Tagged out, that was quick. Quick little loss. But it's cool, I'll be able to tag this trade now. So that's what I call like a volume bar. Okay, so when I tag my trades too, I know exactly where I placed it. So I placed this at the 0% range. So this is 100%, the bottom is 0%. So I can say, hey, I bought at 0%. And the reason I bought was because there was huge volume that came in right here. I mean, that's big volume compared to everything else. So that's why I bought. So I can tag that trade. So let me go ahead and take this note real quick. Huge volume. And it was a narrow range bar. Super easy, super easy. Huge volume, narrow range bar. Comes down, the range on that bar was only 20 cents. Everything else was like 40 plus cents. Huge volume, wasn't able to go any further, and it was extended far off of, you know, these are the only notes I need because my algorithms are going to tell me everything else. When I put it in my program, it's going to tell me, hey, you bought this at the 0%. It was this far away from the VWAP. It was this far from the moving averages. So I don't need to take notes on any of that because when I import the data, it's going to automatically collect that for me. So this is just a quick tag, huge volume, narrow range bar. And this huge volume, narrow range bar, right? If it was up here, if it was at a different spot, maybe it would yield different results. So what I have to do now is I have to look at the probabilities of this exact trade right here. Do as many of these trades as I can over and over and over and over again. You do 1,000 of these trades and you go, oh, hey, this trade doesn't work. Seems like it should work, but it doesn't work. So then I can get rid of what doesn't work. And that's half the battle right there. Let's see. So a lot of times people want to think about what does work. But in actuality, just focus sometimes on what doesn't work and getting rid of those things. You know, if you got rid of all the bad strategies, sometimes that's, you know, you got a strategy that's just horrible, it just never ever works, but for some reason you trade it, you know, and I've been guilty of that, where it's like this horrible strategy, it doesn't work, but for some reason my brain just thinks it'll work this next time. But if you can just be disciplined enough to actually do the research, to collect the data, to understand the probabilities of, hey, this thing just doesn't work, I'm never going to trade this again because I've done the research, I know it doesn't work, it's proven to me it doesn't work, I'm getting rid of it. You know, if you just start getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't work, you might be left with the stuff that is, and that's half the battle. So oftentimes we're wishing and hoping to find everything that works, and part of what we need to do is just really focus on what doesn't work and how do we eliminate these. So this exercise of me collecting all this data, that's a huge part of that. I want to understand what doesn't work so I can stop trading it. This is a trade I've made many times, right? I don't have sufficient data because I wasn't collecting the data before, but now I am. So I'm going to continue to make this trade as many times as I possibly can. That way I can look at the probabilities and I can understand, will that work, won't that work? And if it doesn't work, I'm going to stop trading it. But I can't tell off one trade. I can't tell off 2 trades. I can't tell off 10 trades. I need a lot of data, as much as I can get. All right, so we're scanning through. Now, let's look. Yes, so we've been talking about this stock a lot today. So what have I seen so far? That volume. Remember, I want to see some kind of strong volume rejection. Just got that. Just got that strong volume rejection. I have an engulfing bar, 62, top 64, 9 cents. I'm going to go ahead and put this in at 10 cents. I'm going to sell it. 61. Let me do this real quick before I miss it. 61 to 71. I might have made that stop a little too big. I want to see it come down to 41. Right to the VWAP. I might get a double engulfing. That'd be hilarious. So, what did I see that made me want to get into this trade? Well, we were talking about it. I wanted to see rejection. I wanted to see sellers step in. I haven't really seen that yet. If we look over here, this was the resistance, our previous day's support, which was today's resistance. So I was seeing that right around in this area. I said I want to see if price break up and then break down. Now this is kind of giving me different than what I anticipated, but we'll see what happens. So, man, it's making a double engulfing. I feel like, what was that YouTube? Double rainbow. It's like double engulfing. So this candle engulfed this one, and now this candle is engulfing that one. That's very rare. I don't really see that too often. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know what to think about that. But anyways, this again is a pattern that I can trade over and over again, right? So I see an engulfing with volume. Stock was already gapped down. It's hit some area. If you look over here, it's hit some area of support / resistance. I don't see a lot of reasons to buy right now. These guys buying, I'm not sure who's buying. I don't really see the stock going up, but that's just me. I've known to be wrong a couple of times. So I like this. I like my entry. Set my stop 10 cents above 71. So that's right about at a 12%, 12.5% of today's range. So I like my stops between 10 and 25% at max of today's range. So we'll see what happens from here. All right, let's see. Here's another engulfing right here. Take some notes here. Where am I at? GLW. never came back up. Never came back up. The thing that's weird to me is just how light this volume is. So that came down with 140,000 shares. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I just anticipate it going down. The only thing I don't like, and again, hindsight's 2020, right? You always see this stuff afterwards. I set my stop. The low right here is 35.72. I set my stop at 71. Literally 1 cent difference. So if I would have been quicker to think about this, I would have said, hey, I want a 10-cent stop. I'm going to wait till my entry gets to about 63 or 64. This high is 66, so that would have still worked. I could have put my stop above this area. That probably would have been much better. But that's the thing, real time. This is real time day trading, right? I mean, you got to make decisions in real time. So looking back, if I had to do it over again, I would say, no, I'm going to wait till it comes up a little higher to get in. But, you know, and I don't want to adjust my stop. Sometimes I do adjust my stops, but, and I think one of these, let me see on which one, MNK. Yeah, MNK. Yeah, let's see. We'll see what happens. So we talked about this engulfing earlier too, and like how I didn't like it. The reason I didn't like it because it was gapping up. It engulfed to the downside, but I didn't want to trade that. I didn't trust that. Even though it was more volume, because it's gapped up, you have previous days levels that it has to fight through, the moving averages. I mean, just even though it engulfed, I like that. So what did I do? Exactly what I said I was going to do. I traded an engulfing. That, there you go, same thing, engulfing, right? But now to the downside. So same engulfing, but the criteria is reversed, right? Instead of a stock that had gapped up, I'm playing the engulfing to a stock that gapped down. So it's really important. I'm taking some notes here. All right, so like I was saying, it's really important to not just trade the pattern, but to trade the pattern in relation to the rest of the chart. So we have two things. We have a red engulfing candle. We have it here on GLW, and we had it, where's the other one? Here on FEI, or whatever you say. So this stock right here, I pointed this out right when it was happening, an engulfing candle down. I didn't want to trade it because the stock had gapped up and there was other things. And I had mentioned, hey, if this was the exact same thing, but the stock had gapped down, I would probably trade it. GLW, same thing, right? Engulfing, but the stock is gapping down. I like that better. So I'm going to trade that. And so that's so important. Like we look for these patterns. Oh, look at this volume that came in. Geez, 250,000 shares. That's interesting. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. Not great, because it didn't break this low. I would have loved to see that volume break this low, but it didn't. But it's okay. This trade may not work out, but the point is I can repeat this. And I know how to repeat this exact trade again, do 100, do 1,000 of these, whatever, and just really understand the probabilities of how this trade is going to work out. I don't want opinion. I want probabilities. I want data. All right, so let's see where we're at. It's finally coming down a little bit on this one. Let's see. This is making a lower low. You know what? I'm closing this trade out. I am going to close this trade out. Okay. So, why did I close this out? A couple of reasons. Look at the way this is angling up here. Right? Comes down. Look, that volume right here pushes up. Comes back down. Volume trying to push up. Comes back down. Volume pushing up. So, it's kind of basing. I just don't like it. I don't trust it. There's never been a lower low. It's kind of been building this area. I like quick amateur moves, right? Where kind of comes down and then all of a sudden it just shoots up like just crazy on super light volume. I don't think those types of moves are typically going to be supported. Look at that, 140,000 shares pushing that up right there. Just a little break. I don't know, I just don't like it, so I decided to get rid of that. If you look at this, it looks like an entry. I don't think price is going to go to the moon here, but I do think it could get just a little crazy and stop me out. So I don't want to mess with it. I guess technically price could go to the moon, but I'm just going to stay away from that. This, I don't see price coming back up. I'm just going to cancel this order. This is coming down. That's what I wanted to see. This volume right here, 300,000 shares. This volume right here, 257,000 shares. So this, if this breaks, yeah, it's pretty good. So that means the big volume now is above this. Yeah, I think this can go to yeah. We'll see what happens. Big volume pushed down right there. See this price gets stuck. I like my entry. Said I would have changed the entry. Hindsight, would have gotten in a couple cents higher. But I mean, real reality, this is paper trading and I'm doing it. And the reality is when you live trade, you get slippage anyway. So you never get the exact entries. Well, I shouldn't say never, but a lot of times you can miss the exact entries. So let's see here. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, let's look at the float of this stock. I'm curious. So it's GLW. Market cap is 29 billion. Yeah, the float 107 million, or I'm sorry, 807 million shares. This is why I like these big stocks. So if you were playing a low float and somebody comes in with 257,000 shares, I want you to notice how this stock barely moved. It moved 4 cents. 4 cents on 257,000 shares. I mean, it barely, didn't even budget really, right? You get the low float stocks. I mean, that much volume is going to make it go crazy. So that's why I love trading these types of stocks. I don't feel they're as easily manipulated as these low float stocks. You get a low float, You get some guy in a chat room pumping the stock. Hey, I'm getting in here. I'm getting in. And some of the stocks that I've seen, they don't even do 257,000 in a whole day, right? These low float stocks, they maybe will do 100,000, if that. And then you got a guy in a chat room looking at that stock, and he's got 1,000 followers. Even if you get a very small percentage of those followers, let's say 10%, but 10%, they're all buying 2,000, 3,000 shares, right? Or whatever it is. That's 300,000 shares coming into the market, and it blows those stocks all over the place, which is great for the moderator, right? It's great for the guy, calling the stocks, because he's in before anybody else buys usually. And then his chat room will pump it up. That's why I love these kind of stocks. I could call this out, 200,000 shares, didn't even move it. Who cares? You have to use like real technical analysis. You have to use real skill, as far as I'm concerned, to trade these kind of stocks. Now, I'm not saying everyone who trades low floats doesn't know what they're doing. All I'm saying is I think there's manipulation that goes on. Supply and demand. In these low floats, there's low supply. And then these chat rooms create high demand. So it makes it easier for those to be moved around. If I had 1,000 people and this was like a million share float, and I had 1,000, and I go, I'm going to buy right now. I guarantee you, if even 10% or 20% of those of my followers were start buying that stock, it would move the price up. And if I'm already in, then I can just start scaling out. Hey, 5-10 cents as it moves up. I'm taking 10, 20,000 shares, whatever. I mean, I don't know. That's why I like playing the big boy stocks. I feel they're not as manipulated. I feel, and I could be wrong. Who knows? I don't claim to have all knowledge. It just seems logical to me. A low float stock, there's low supply. The chat room creates high demand. They start buying. I mean, it just to me, the logic seems like that demand would drive the price higher. It's kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know what I mean? Like, is the price moving up and so people are jumping on it? Or is the price moving up because people are jumping on it? And I think it's a little bit of both. I think the moderators a lot of times are on the stock first, and the followers get on. Then the guy posts, I made $5,000 today. Well, that's cool, man. I mean, yeah. How do you ever even have a losing day? That's what I don't understand. Methodology like that, it seems like you should never, ever lose. But let's see what happens. Whoa, look at this. It tanked even further. Yeah, so that's my little rant on low float stocks. But again, I think you can trade them legitimately. The only problem I have is with people. I've heard some of these guys that will say, my room doesn't, like, if you want to trade it, fine, but at least admit that your room could be impacting the stock. To act like the room has no impact on it, which I've seen some of these guys say, like, oh no, these stocks would have done this anyway without me. Really? Would they have moved that much if you and your room weren't trading that stock? I just think that's disingenuous. I kind of think it's bullshit. Like, if you want to trade it, fine. Just tell people, hey, this room probably moves the stock a little bit. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Just be honest with people. I can rant about that stuff for... Maybe I'm just bitter because I've spent thousands of dollars on trading education from some of those low flow guys. Maybe I'm just an old jaded guy. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so 1050. I usually don't place any trades past 1030. Just been kind of checking this out. Let me look what's going on here. That really shot up. So I have this one trade open, so it'll be interesting to see how this trade ends up today. So I'm just going to leave it open, and we'll check back tomorrow, get a good understanding of how it ended. Other than that, pretty straightforward day. Took a couple trades, a couple orders, never got filled. But that's it. That's what we're doing. I'm scanning, surveying, submitting trades, collecting the data, understanding what the probabilities are going to be. All right.